Oshkosh Media is government programming on GovTV, community programming on Life TV, and community radio on Oshkosh FM 101.9.
And welcome to edition number 600 of the City Manager's Report. I'm Andy Radig, and in a moment we'll be joined by Oshkosh City Manager Mark Roloff. In the first half of today's show, we'll have some municipal news updates, including items from city departments and things happening in Oshkosh. Plus, we'll take a look back at our show and how it's changed over the years, so stay tuned for that. In the second half, we'll highlight some items from the upcoming Tuesday, February 22nd, Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda. And with that, we bring in City Manager Mark Roloff. And Mark, thanks for being here.
Great to be here, Andy.
Alrighty, our 600th show. So our first item, we're taking a look at the Wisconsin Policy Forum has created a report about state funding for cities like Oshkosh. And can you give us a little bit of background about this?
Well, sure. The shared revenue program is something that's been around since 1911. That's state money that provides funding for municipalities. It actually started with the income tax was created back in 1911 for that very purpose. But the revenues for the last 10 years have been frozen by the state. So we haven't gotten an extra nickel under that program for 10 years. So you can imagine that when your second largest revenue source in the general fund doesn't get increased, you're going to your first revenue source, which is property taxes. So I would say there's a direct relationship between the state not funding the shared revenue program and our property taxes going up. So, our expenses, of course, have risen, and levy limits have restricted some of our property tax revenues. But because the state has literally broken the system, it really needs to get repaired. And if you go back, the 1911 income tax was intended to fund, take 70% of that money and give it to municipalities to provide basic services like police and fire and snow plowing and all the basic stuff that we do. But clearly, we are nowhere near what the program was intended for over 100 years ago. Right.
There was that formula with the tax collections and how the state would reimburse municipalities. And, recently those tax collections by the state have more than tripled since the 1990s.
Yeah, they have. But at the same time, the state shared revenue program has actually declined, not increased by that. And we've got a graph that kind of supports that. But, one of the real interesting statistics that our finance department pointed out, you can see with this graphic how the income tax revenue going into the state has gone up. But look where the revenue is, that light blue line, that's the revenue that the state's been giving to cities, villages, towns, and counties. So it's not just the city of Oshkosh, this is happening statewide. But a little case in point, if the state had only increased that little light blue line by consumer price index over that time period, we'd have more than double what we're currently getting, and that would have reduced our property taxes by 22%. So think about that. That's 1/5 year tax bill that'd be cut if the state had only upheld its part of the bargain that was created many years ago. But obviously, in the last 30 years, probably in the 600 shows we've been doing, the state hasn't changed the program. And when you see how much we've changed over the years, the funding has really got to catch up. So we're going to keep working with other municipalities, counties, towns throughout the state to modernize and really diversify municipal revenue options. The state has this huge surplus, and it doesn't look like they have any intent of helping fund basic programs that they've been unfunding for many years now. And there's got to be a change.
Well, and especially with the over-reliance, I guess I would say, of property tax income to support municipal services. That's why this is important.
You're absolutely right. When you think about it, the state talks about they want to reduce property taxes, and we're going to hold the line. The state doesn't collect property taxes. The state doesn't get any property taxes, but they get all the income tax, they get all the sales tax. We get none of that. We get it technically back through the shared revenue program, but they haven't increased it. So everything extra you've been paying in income and sales tax over the years, the state's kept completely. They have not given it to their other governmental partners, and that's just patently unfair.
Mm-hmm. As you said, we'll work with our other municipalities and hopefully we can see some resolution to this. Okay, there's also been a recent Oshkosh housing study, and they're continuing to seek some public input for this. This is a citywide housing study.
Yeah, this is something that we wanted to do with our strategic plan. It's really about how do we do better on making housing more affordable, what gaps are there in our housing inventory, and what we can do better. So we actually started this in April of last year.
Right.
And the results of the study are really intended to help our elected officials, city staff like ourselves, and stakeholders and community members to understand all the housing issues that are there and the local market and what we can do to help make housing more affordable. So this is going to be used to help us develop some priorities and develop maybe some policies and how to allocate our resources. But we've got a virtual open house that we're going to be holding very shortly. It's going to be on Thursday, February 24th at 6 p.m. So you can hit that link to join us. We really do want people to take a look at the housing study. It is online. And then provide us your input on things you think we can do to help improve the quality of housing in our community, as well as make it more affordable. We are blessed. We really do have, when you compare ourselves to other areas of the country, we have very affordable housing, but we want to make it affordable to everybody, including people who may not have the means like you and I do. So that's one of the things we want to take a look at.
And there is a link to that information on the city's website in the Hot Topics section. So you can find the housing study there, and you can get some more information about how to join that virtual open house that's coming up Thursday, February 24th. Okay, another project that's coming around and planning continues for the Oshkosh Parks Department operations facility, and there's some new kind of interesting looking fly-through animation.
Yeah, the Parks Department, their building at the corner of Witzel and Idaho was actually built in the 1950s, so we need to really get it modernized, make ourselves more efficient. So this is, if you were driving southbound on Idaho, this is what the facility will eventually look like. Again, it's to consolidate all of our operations folks, all our folks who maintain the parks and the cemetery and all the other city facilities associated with parks. That'll get done out of this facility. It's a great central location, so we can hit all of our city parks fairly easily. This is, sort of the south elevation. The side you won't necessarily see if you're a member of the public, but you can see that it'll have some drive-through facilities so that we can get our folks out in the morning, get them out doing their work a lot quicker. Again, it just makes things much more efficient. And you can see that we do have some fairly big vehicles, so we got bigger garages, but we do our forestry department, the trees that get trimmed and everything, those vehicles, those high lift trucks, they're all in there. So, and of course we serve the public. You go and get a pavilion permit or a special event permit. This is where you go to get those things. So we just want to make it more efficient and more welcoming for members of the public to take a look at this. And it's long overdue. Again, I said that we purchased this property from the technical college in the 1950s. So
right.
It does not meet our needs. The offices were really cobbled together. We used to have the parks management here at City Hall and the operations over there, and there was really a disconnect between our managers and our workers. This bringing them together makes sense, but the facility was never intended to be something like that. So we know we need to work on it. And while it's going to be over $5 million for this project when all is said and done, I truly believe, like the Public Works facility, we're going to make our folks much more efficient. I think our folks are probably 20% more productive in the Public Works facility than they were before, because they were literally tripping over each other. This will help them get out of the gate earlier in the morning. Their vehicles going, things are equipped, ready to go, so they can hit the ground running literally when they have to, mow parkland or plow snow in the parks and things like that. All those things that we kind of take for granted, but it'll make all of the services that the Parks Department provides much more effectively delivered.
And I did have the opportunity to tour that current facility, and literally they are tripping over each other over there. There's a lot crammed in there, so this appears to be much needed.
So we're going to be bidding this out within the next month. So this gives you an idea of what it'll look like when the project's done. But the idea is to bid it out within the next month, and then probably start in May or something like that. Get things going so we can get a roof on it, and hopefully get it open in the next couple of years. Okay,
and we'll keep an eye on that as it moves through the process. Okay, there's also a poetry walk that's coming up, and this is in conjunction with the Oshkosh Public Library. They're taking submissions right now for local poetry.
Yeah, our public library partnering with the Downtown Business Improvement District. This is part of the, sort of a spin on the gallery walk. It's just going to be the poetry walk. And the curated selection of original poetry from local writers will be displayed in storefront windows along Main Street throughout the month of April. So it's really going to be kind of cool. So there is a deadline of February 28th, but all ages are encouraged to apply. So submit your selections that you want to be considered. The OshkoshPublicLibrary.org website has details on how to apply, but it's written, so it's pretty easy. You just attach your written file and send it over, and the library will have a curated selection. So people will be looking at these things, the local writers, to pick the winners, and they'll be displayed throughout downtown. So I think it's a really cool thing. Adds a little bit of culture to the downtown area. And I so much appreciate the Business Improvement District partnering with our public library to do this.
Right. And those will be displayed in storefront windows along Main Street beginning in April. So we'll be looking for that. Okay, Mark, also kind of a big thing for your office, the State of the City is coming up as a program. It'll be virtual again this year, but we're working on that, and that will be released on March 14th at 6 p.m. on all of the Oshkosh media platforms.
Yeah, well, you're giving yourself, you're missing the credit. You guys are doing a lot of the work at Oshkosh Media. Everybody there to get this program going. There's a lot of lead time because it is a virtual event. But we are going to launch it right there on Monday, March 14th at 6 p.m. on the Oshkosh Media YouTube channel. So really what the program is, it's pretty much a virtual version of what you get at State of the City, but it's going to highlight what's ahead for Oshkosh in 2022. We have our annual awards presentation, a lot of great community partners we want to recognize, but we also recognize people who've been serving on our boards and commissions for many years, and there's so much more that'll be there. So citizen comments are being included. We've already done that solicitation, got some great feedback on things that they like what we're doing, and a few things they'd like to see us do a little better on. And that's okay. We want to constantly improve how we're delivering services, and this input is very valuable. So it was very eye-opening with all the information that you guys collected. So I just keep an eye out. It's going to be on the Oshkosh Media Facebook page to keep promoting it.
We'll have some information there as well, and on Oshkosh Media Gov TV, but especially keep an eye on our Oshkosh Media Facebook page and City of Oshkosh Twitter as well for information about it. But that will be coming around, and again, we appreciate the input that we've seen from the public with that. Okay, Mark, anything new with our COVID-19 situation?
Well, I did just take a look at the numbers that came out from the county health department. They are improving.
Good.
But, before the Omicron variant hit, we were in the very high category. And then we went into this critically high, which was just beyond anything. There was no category above critically high, but we were there. Now it's gotten back into it's still the very high category. So while it's improved dramatically, it was pretty bad. So we're still encouraging people to get vaccines. We're still encouraging people to do what they need to do. The masks are required of city of employees and visitors in our city operated buildings, and that's going to continue through February.
Okay. All right. And then there are resources available, the Winnebago County website, wcvaccine.org, information available there on vaccinations and more information about some of the data and everything. And then also, we just wanted to remind folks that there is free transportation available to vaccination appointments through Go Transit.
Absolutely. We want to encourage people to continue to get the vaccine. That's the most effective way to stop the spread. But we're making progress, and we're real happy about it. But the vaccines are still the trick to make this all happen.
Okay. All right. Well, Mark, we wanted to, actually, it's pretty exciting that this is our edition number 600 of this show. It originally began in 1997, and it was called Inside City Hall, and we had City Manager Richard Wallenk was our city manager at that time, and he hosted the show. So
and you were behind the scenes back then. You were doing camera work, directing work, and all that stuff. So yeah, the show has evolved over time, and but the goal has always been about improving transparency for the residents of Oshkosh, and that remains the case. Mm-hmm. Certainly we've evolved the show as you have witnessed firsthand over all these years, Andy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, originally it started out as just a preview of the City Council agenda. Pretty much that was about it, but we expanded to include municipal news updates, and now we really have a lot of information that we share through this as a vehicle. And as far as our ability to reach folks, it used to be just cable television, but now we use multiple platforms. People might be watching this on Facebook or some other platform right now.
It's amazing. There are folks that used to live in Oshkosh that will catch this show through the Oshkosh Media Channel website because they're still wanting to stay connected with things that are going on in Oshkosh, and that's very it's very warming to anybody who cares a great deal about our community. So that's wonderful. But yeah, it's a lot of different platforms, and I think we're even working at trying to keep doing a few more little things like podcasts and things like that.
Right, we're looking at that.
In the future.
Mm-hmm. Looking at that as an option, and like you said, I know that there are some snowbirds who always keep up with Oshkosh from Florida or wherever they might be. So definitely keeping up with the times, and we're very happy to continue, and hopefully we'll be seeing another 100th number come around one of these days here. So we'll keep it going. All right. Well, Mark, I think it's time for us to take a short break, and if you stay with us for some highlights from the upcoming Tuesday, February 22nd Common Council meeting agenda. You're watching the City Manager's Report.
Falling is the leading cause of injuries and death among adults 65 and older, and roughly 20% of Oshkosh EMS calls are related to falls. Hi, I'm John Holland from the Oshkosh Fire Department. One of the leading causes of falling incidents in the home is from throw rugs. Now, you can trade that rug for a mug and enjoy a free beverage from a participating location. Bring your throw rug 4 by 6 feet or smaller to one of the following locations to trade it for an insulated mug that will be filled one time for free. Locations include Carmel Crisp Corner, New Moon Cafe, the Oshkosh Senior Center, Laura's Cafe, and both Planet Perk coffee houses. Only one mug per person, and you may turn in as many rugs as you want that are 4 by 6 feet or smaller. It's simple. Make your home safer and enjoy a mug of coffee. Thanks to the Ladies Benevolent Society and 4imprint for making this program possible.
And welcome back to the number 600 edition of the City Manager's Report. I'm Andy Radig along with City Manager Mark Roloff. Let's turn our attention to the agenda items from the upcoming February 22nd Oshkosh Common Council meeting. So, Mark, under the consent agenda, we have, looks like we're submitting an application for some flood control.
Yeah, this is a program operated by the DNR specifically for flood control. So we've actually applied for this program in the past and been successful at getting several projects done. You may recall the James Road Detention Pond, which is actually pretty far outside the city, but it is in the Sawyer Creek area. So that's the largest watershed in the city. So and it's caused a great deal of damage over the years. And the last project we did out there reduced flooding in the Sawyer Creek area significantly. We're actually going to apply again with another Sawyer Creek project in mind. But we've gotten other grants in the past for not just Sawyer Creek, but other areas around the city. And we're hoping to get a little luck to get this, and that grant will help reduce the cost for our stormwater utility, which keeps your stormwater rates in check.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Also under consent, we have, it looks like there's an item that South Washburn Street, this is part of the federal infrastructure bill, I understand?
Yeah, the federal infrastructure bill, the first round of monies for 2022, they would like to see a project already designed. So the purpose of this item is to get an outside engineering firm to do the design, but it's the project that we think has the best chance of getting designed fairly quickly, so it stands the best chance of it getting approved for this special funding. But this is Washburn Street and actually Plainview Drive. So it starts on the north side on 20th Avenue, and it'll go all the way down past Plainview Truck Stop down to Nakaimai Avenue. So the intent of this is to get that very bumpy area taken care of, and hopefully the federal infrastructure bill will smile favorably upon us, and we'll be able to get that project done. And if we're successful, it could be done late this year or early next year, but they would like to get some projects done as soon as possible. And so we feel this is the best candidate of all the projects we have on our list in our capital improvement program to get designed and get done in pretty short order.
Okay, that way it keeps it moving.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Then we also have a approval, looking for an approval of a development plan, and I believe this is the new Chili's restaurant.
Yeah, this is in the 1300 block of South Keller. It's kind of in front of the old Shopko store. It's the old, the big parking lot there. Mm-hmm. So the idea there is to put a Chili's restaurant there. So there's a little rendering what they provided to us, and we're excited when National Chains recognize that there's pretty good demographics that will support a restaurant of that source, and so we're excited that this is going to get going and look forward to it. But it's already gotten favorable review by our Plan Commission, so now it gets final approval by the Council.
Okay, very good. And then there are several special events, and then later in the agenda under new ordinances, it looks like there's an opportunity for approval of some plans for some light density residential property. And this is probably to make housing a little bit more affordable?
Yeah, part of it is to make housing more affordable. We've got a graphic that was presented to the Plan Commission, and this shows this area. And you'll notice that Farmington Avenue has a dead end, and we normally don't put dead ends in place unless we know it's going to continue. So the idea is this vacant parcel would be used for single-family housing, but in one of our goals is to help make housing more affordable. A very good way of doing that is to put a little more density, make the lots just a little smaller, not big suburban areas, like we do have those in Oshkosh, we do have them out in the town of Algoma, but to make housing more affordable, if we can put more homes into the same space, it makes it more efficient, makes it more affordable. So the developers have met with the neighbors. I think it's been pretty well received. So now it goes to the council, but it does require a little bit of amendment. And after years, we had less dense. Now we're having a little slightly more dense. So we actually have to change our comprehensive plan just a little bit to allow that, and then the zoning to make it consistent. But it is certainly consistent with our goals of making housing more affordable.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Later on in the agenda, we have new resolutions, and it looks like there's a new development for a Caribou coffee shop.
Yeah, coffee fans, you rest assured we've had great demand for coffee shops in and around. So this is in the 200 block of Ohio Street. So this is pretty much where Witzel ends over at Ohio Street. So that big open space there is proposed for a Caribou Coffee. It's not going to be for a dine-in type of place. It's going to be exclusively drive-through and walk-up. This is the rendering. The big issue is going to be is Our code does not allow for signs on the roof. As you can see, there's a little bit of a roof sign, so I think the applicant's going to be asking for council to reconsider that, but that's our code, and we've been pretty successful with that. But otherwise, there were some concerns expressed because it's going to be all drive-through, concern about traffic backup, and that's a legitimate concern. But I think the Plan Commission took a look at those things and did things to make sure that the risk of that is pretty minimal. So if this gets approved, look to see another coffee shop, and this will be for the folks on Witzel coming into town before they turn to downtown, stop and get a cup of coffee.
Okay, looks like a great site for it. All right. And then we have an agenda item also under new resolutions supporting production of the new United States Postal Service delivery vehicles in Oshkosh. Mark, I haven't seen a lot of resolutions of this type on agendas before.
Yeah, generally we don't get involved in labor management issues with local companies, and we certainly, I don't think that want to be the case. But this is an issue for the council. Some council members were approached about doing this. And I think the version that is going to be before the council is recognizing that, we did go through a process where we had bid on, or we had submitted a proposal on various ideas that they could build a facility totally devoted to the postal trucks getting constructed. And that was what Oshkosh Corporation had asked for. The postal workers, the UAW union workers who work for Oshcorp, they certainly want to see it done here because that'll be better job security for them. That's totally understandable. Oshcorp has their own, goals and everything. They wanted a very big facility that, frankly, nobody in the state could meet that need, and that was a real challenge. We had submitted a proposal and ideas on what we could do to accommodate it, but they found an existing facility that was vacant in South Carolina, and that's kind of where they went that way. Again, we don't want to get in the middle of the different disputes of it all, but I think the council wants to show their support, or the council members presenting this want to show their support for getting work done in Oshkosh, and I think that's the ask. But there is some investment that's already been done by Oshkosh Corporation, so I think there's got to be a realization there that some of it's going to get done in South Carolina. How much gets done up here, that remains to be seen. Right now, that's not the intent, but we do have about 100 engineering jobs, design jobs, that are going to remain here in Oshkosh. That's going to be basically running the project, which we think is very beneficial for our economy. But I think the union would just like to see a few more work their way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then a little bit later on the agenda, we have a staff report on the Clearwells project over at the water filtration plant. Last time we talked, staff were going to meet with the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. What was the outcome of some of those discussions?
Well, we've presented an idea that was actually proposed back in 2014 that was dismissed at the time. And now that we've done a little more digging, I think we understand why. The idea would be to check on the status of the existing clear wells, and is there anything that can be done to extend the life of the existing clear wells. But the DNR has some pretty high standards for that. They want to make sure that it's pretty much watertight right now, and that there is no contamination in the groundwater surrounding the tanks themselves. And you can see in the lower right corner there, that's where the clear wells currently are. If we can demonstrate that there's no contamination and there's it's structurally okay, they might consider that. However, there's no guarantee that they would allow us to extend the life of it as long as 30 years, but that would be kind of what the goal would be. Mm-hmm. So we're doing a cost comparison on what that would be, and we're going to present that to council and see what they think.
Okay, all right. And then just a reminder to folks that they can visit the Hot Topics section of the city's website to find more information about the Clearwell project, and also to register comments, and there are some FAQs there and some other information, so you can learn more about it. Well, Mark, I think that's about all the time that we have today. Thank you for your insights.
It's always a pleasure, Andy.
All right, and thank you for joining us today for episode number 600. Again, that Oshkosh Common Council meeting is coming up this Tuesday, February 22nd at 6 p.m. in person at City Hall, with the option for remote participation by the public. And you can watch it live on GovTV, which is Spectrum Channel 10, UVerse Channel 99, and streaming on YouTube and OshkoshMedia.org. Or you can also listen to it live on the radio, Oshkosh FM 101.9, which is also online and on the TuneIn Radio app for phones and tablets. Join us again in 2 weeks for another City Managers Report. Thanks for watching.